Good evening and welcome to Rediscovering the Truth Bible Study. I'm your host and teacher, Marquita Smith. We are continuing our study of the complete Jewish Bible, where we're looking at the Torah, the Law of Moses. We're looking at the Nevi'im and the Ketuvim, which is going to be the prophets and the writings. And then we're also looking at the Brit Hadashah. So we read 3 chapters every Bible study, and we're looking for this congruency, the consistency of God and the principles and in the scripture itself, that we would understand Him and His ways better. So tonight our topic is the sacrifice for the blessing. The sacrifice for the blessing. Now, we're going to start in Genesis chapter 27, and we're going to read all of chapter 27 and the first four verses of Genesis chapter 28. This is Genesis chapter 27, verse 1, all the way through chapter 28, verse 4. And Genesis chapter 27 is a long chapter. We're going to also read Psalm 11 and John 19, and John 19 is also a long chapter. And so I bless the Lord for it, but we've got a lot of scripture to cover because blessings don't come cheap. And we want to actually look at that and get an understanding of it and pray that the Father really ministers to our hearts, that we would hear what He's saying, not get an idea that we can buy a blessing from God, because we saw what happened when somebody tried to do that in the book of Acts. And I want that anointing that y'all have. How much does it cost? Oh, it's terrible. It's a bad scenario. This is not at all what we're talking about. We want to see, really the spiritual cost and the challenges and the sacrifice and the submission that one has to go through and experience and even receive the relationship with God in order to actually receive God's blessing. So Genesis chapter 27, starting at verse 1, in the complete Jewish, it reads, "In the course of time, after Yitzhak or Isaac had grown old and his eyes dim, so that he couldn't see, he called for Esau, his older son, and said to him, 'My son.' And he answered, 'Here I am. Look, I'm old now. I don't know when I will die. Therefore, please take your hunting gear, your quiver of arrows, and your bow. Go out in the country and get me some game. Make it tasty the way I like it, and bring it to me to eat. Then I will bless you as firstborn before I die.'" Now, here are a couple of things that we've got to understand. In the Torah, God is going to show us the good, the bad, and the ugly of Israel. Not just the Torah, but the whole Tanakh, the whole Old Testament. He's going to show us the good, the bad, and the ugly. So everything we see in the Torah and everything we see in the whole Tanakh, not necessarily what we should do. I mean, even when you look at the Brit Hadashah, there's stuff that people do, like I was just telling you about the guy who tried to buy the anointing, that they do, and you shouldn't do what they do. What you do is you read the story and you follow the outcome. And you see, well, did that work out well? Now, what Isaac is planning is not going to work out well. And because I've read the rest of the story, I'm going to point out to you as we go through some problems with this. Now, let me tell you what's wrong. Isaac is the father. He is the one who has the authority to bless his son and sons, because you'll see later Jacob blesses all his sons. He speaks over each one of them. Noah spoke over all of his sons. As the father of the household, the man of the house, the man of God in that house, the priest of the house, this is his role. He knows it. He's operating in it. He's operating in his authority. Here's the challenge. He is basing his decision off of things that exclude talking about. He says to his oldest son that he's going to give him the blessing as the firstborn. So he assumes that that's the reason why he should get the blessing. Now, the funny thing is, Isaac wasn't the firstborn of his father. Ishmael was. But Isaac got the blessing. So you think from that, Isaac would know that it doesn't necessitate you being the firstborn to get the blessing. But it could be that he didn't understand that concept of God, because as you remember, his older brother Ishmael came from the concubine, not the wife. Esau here is the oldest son of the wife. So maybe Isaac just always thought, well, Ishmael didn't get the blessing just because his mom was the concubine. And he didn't figure it was just because God chooses whoever he wants to pick. You see what I mean? Like maybe Isaac didn't get that lesson. You see what I mean? Thinking, well, if Ishmael would have been my mom's son, because he's the oldest, he probably would have got the blessing. And that's really not true. God chooses whom he chooses. That's it. It says it actually in Hebrews. It says God chooses whom he chooses. Jacob he loved, Esau he hated. He chooses whom he chooses. And so we're going to see that here. He didn't inquire of God. He assumes that the oldest is the one that God wants to bless, because as in any area of authority, very honestly, we're operating out of the authority that God has given us. It's not our own authority. Whether we're parents, husbands, wife, teachers, ministers, pastors, doesn't matter. The authority we're operating out of, even governmental authorities. It tells us very much in Scripture that God Himself puts those people in power. We're not operating out of our own authority. We're operating out of God's authority. We're stewards representing God. He didn't talk to God not one time about who was supposed to get this blessing. You see what I mean? And he's using another deciding factor. He says, go hunting and give me that food I like. And then I'm going to bless you. That had nothing to do with a blessing. Him getting the food he likes. Now we know from earlier on in scriptures that Isaac loved Esau because he was a man of, he was like he was, but actually he wasn't like him. Isaac actually was a little bit more like Jacob. Isaac didn't go out and do no hunting. He didn't go out and kill game. Remember when he marries Rebecca, he brings her into his mother's tent. You see what I mean? So clearly he was a tent dwelling man like Jacob. And it's so funny how as parents, sometimes the kid that's more like us, that's not the one we like. We like us. So when we see ourselves in our kids, sometimes that's not what we like. Jacob was actually more like Isaac. You see what I mean? Esau was probably more like Ishmael. Because Ishmael's going to go off and be a great warrior and hunter, blah, 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 blah. But Isaac, he's more of a tent dweller. He's his only child, kind of pampered after Ishmael leaves. And he doesn't have any woman in his life until after his mother dies. And then he finally gets his wife and brings into the tent. And that's it for him. So he's a little more of a homebody. But he's got this son who's a manly man. And he loves that. He picks that son. That's his favorite son. But then for Rebecca, the favorite son is Jacob. We'll hear a little bit more about this in this chapter. But what becomes important to note here is that he's using the wrong criteria for who's going to get the blessing. Because when God actually speaks, he speaks like earlier on in chapter 25. The Lord spoke to Rebecca and he told her who was going to be blessed. He said that the older is going to serve the younger. Like he said.
So she didn't really have to scheme.
She didn't. And we see clearly that there's some challenges in the household. She received the revelation of who was supposed to get the blessing before they were born. Either she did not communicate that to her husband because she came out of Laban's household. Remember, Laban is her brother. And Laban is the one that's going to trick Jacob a little bit. So we know there's some trickery in their household. They kind of move by trickery. You see what I'm saying? Because he's going to totally just scheme all over Jacob when he gets there. And so we see that she comes from that place. That was her brother. So she's, she's used to the trickery. Then she just didn't tell him, thinking she was going to just work it out herself through the manipulation. Or she told him and he ignored her because some men are like, I'm the man. God wants me to know. He's going to tell me myself. Yeah, himself. He's not going to tell you one and he'll tell me. And we don't get the privilege of knowing whether or not they ever discussed it. But from chapter 25, we see very clearly that God already told her who was supposed to be blessed. And in the authority that Isaac was in, he was supposed to operate off of what God was saying. Not off of who is the most manly, not off of who fixes the food he likes. Not, that was not what his decision was supposed to be. Not even off of who was the oldest. It's supposed to be based off of what did God say. And we don't see him inquiring of God here at all. He goes off of what he thinks is who's supposed to get the blessing. Now that's a big deal because a lot of times this happens in the human realm and it can be frustrating for individuals where we're like, this person is in authority and I know God wants to bless me, but they won't bless me. They're withholding the blessing. The father's withholding the blessing. The pastor's withholding the blessing. The mother's withholding the blessing. You know what I mean? The boss won't give me the increase I deserve. You know God wants to bless you, but the human who's in that authority that God put there has not connected with God to get. You see what I mean? Now, Rebecca is going to see that. The human in authority is not connected with God. But she's also not going to handle it rightly. So let's go to verse 5. We're going to see how now she realizes my husband has got the authority to bless the sons. He's not doing the right thing. So we're going to see what she says. Rivka was listening to Yitzhak, or Rebecca was listening to Isaac as he spoke to his son Esau. When when Esau went out to the country to hunt for game and bring it back, she said to her son Yaakov, or Jacob, listen, I heard your father telling Esau, your brother, bring me game and make it tasty so I can eat it. Then I will give you my blessing in the presence of Adonai, or the Lord, before my death. Now pay attention, my son, and do what I tell you. Go to the flock and bring me back 2 choice kids. I will make it tasty for your father the way he likes it. And you will bring it to your father to eat so that he will give his blessing to you before his death. Yaakov answered Rivkah, or Jacob answered Rebekah, his mother, look, Esau is hairy, but I have smooth skin. Suppose my father touches me. He'll know I'm trying to trick him, and I'll bring a curse on myself, not a blessing. But his mother said, let your curse be on me. Just listen to me and go get the kids. So he went, got them, and brought them to his mother, and his mother prepared them in the tasty way his father loved. Now, this is a big deal. People always accuse Jacob of being a deceiver.
Yeah.
But when he got his brother's birthright with that red stew, he didn't deceive him. He was like, give me the birthright, you got some of my stew. That was outright bartering. You understand what I'm saying? There was no deception there. He was like, hey, you don't want the birthright, give it to me, and I'll give you some of this stew. And he did exactly that. Now here, it's Rebekah who's being deceptive. Now the question is, exactly what was Jacob supposed to do? His mother does have authority in his life. She said, look, she answered all his concerns about being cursed, deceiving his father. She's like, look, I'm a handler. You just do what I say. How many times have we heard that from people? You just do what I say. Don't worry about it, just do what I say. He did what she said. So now the challenge is he's got two parents with two different instructions. Who's he going to obey here? You see what I mean? Either way, he's been put in a bad position. So people always say, oh, Jacob did deceive her. But here, he's listening to his mother. He's being obedient, even though she's the one that's been manipulated. Now, here is her problem. She heard from God. God told her who was going to do the blessing. Now, it doesn't hurt that Jacob is her favorite son. You see, it is. Jacob is her favorite son. He's the one that stays in the house. He helps her cook. He's sweetheart. You know, Esau was all burly and gross. He probably brought worms in the house. You know how little boys do. You know, Jacob probably didn't do that to her. You know how that works. So she likes Jacob. Jacob probably wanted flowers. You know what I mean? She likes Jacob. The dad likes Esau. But God did tell her Jacob was going to get the blessing. He said Jacob is the one that's going to rule over his older brother. Like he told him very clearly. He told him very clearly what was going to happen. So she's got the revelation.
So if she was being sincere to what God said, what she should have done is take the two sons so that Jacob could bless the two, and could pray. And then when he prayed, he would hear from God, okay, this is the one to bless.
Wonderful suggestion. That is exactly what she could have done. I mean, and there's other things she could do. Husband, let's fast first. You move too quickly. I don't believe this is what God's willing. Like, there's a lot of things you could have done. That's a great suggestion. Either way, it would have still respected her husband's authority, but it would have required him to go before God to find out the right answer.
Plus, too, wasn't she disliked her oldest son?
Well, she didn't like him. We're going to talk about the wives in a minute. But with regard to the blessing, that wasn't she didn't want him to get. She knew the blessing was for Jacob. Like she knew God had already said the blessing was for Jacob. She favored Jacob, but also the blessing, God had said the blessing was for Jacob. He told her when the baby was in her womb. So now she's in a position of knowing what God's will is. But she's not handling it in a godly way. Right. Does that make sense?
She's going ahead of God.
And because she sees, oh no, we're about to have a problem. This is out of order. My husband is going to bless the wrong one. That's not what's supposed to happen. And she then takes matters into her own hands. And when we do that, it's just fear. It's just fear. She's afraid that he's about to do the wrong thing. And so she's trying to manipulate the situation and make it work out the way she thinks it should work out instead of believing God. Because it says that he controls the hearts of the kings, which means he controls those in authority. So she should have gone back to him for, what you said or another strategy so she can handle it right.
But it seems as though that she came from a family line of manipulators.
We just talked about that, yes, because Laban is her brother. Exactly.
Is the same
we were just
way.
talking about that. Exactly.
So it's some kind of this.
It means that is the way they think. You see what I mean? They think this is how I make things happen. Because very honestly, even when we see Jacob, even when we see Jacob at Laban's house, Laban finds out through divination that God is blessing his household because of Jacob. That's a good thing. But then he resorts to trickery to keep the blessing. And that's not how you get the blessing. And that's exactly what we're talking about tonight, the sacrifice for the blessing. We're trying to find out how you actually get God's blessing. You see what I mean?
So it's kind of like, okay, like God said, what I say for you is so.
Mhm.
No man can stop it.
No man can stop it. Exactly.
But then it's like, okay, God, if that's the case, why in this place she didn't recognize that Jacob couldn't bless the older one. No matter what he did, it's still the blessing still would fall on the younger son.
That has to do with our faith. She didn't have the faith for that situation.
Mhm.
And we've many times, all of us have done it at some
And she
point.
was doing what she
We
wanted to do.
see something about to happen. We know it's not right. But instead of believing, God, you're going to handle that, or saying, God, how do you want to use me in this situation? Because she was his man in the camp. God certainly could have used her because she's the one he spoke to prophecy to. He clearly wanted to use her, but how do you want to use me? See, the how is where we miss it. Sometimes we really miss the how. Back then, everybody didn't have the Holy Spirit. Like right now, we all have the Holy Spirit. Everybody didn't have the Holy Spirit. So she might have thought, oh, wow, okay, I'm going to have to go to pray. I'm going to have to do all this. I'm going to have to offer sacrifice so I can hear from God. You understand? And I don't got that kind of time. So I need to just make something happen. I need to make something happen. And we do that in our lives all the time. We know God wants to do something, but we take it in our own hands instead of seeking God's strategy. Yes.
Right, but the first step to doing what God tells you to do is obedience.
But he didn't give her any instructions. He just told her who was going to get the blessing.
Yeah, but I'm saying he told her who.
Right, but it wasn't her job to give the blessing.
Right,
see what I mean?
But so it certainly wasn't her job not to reverse it.
Right, see, look, we got to pay attention to what happened. God told Rebecca that Jacob was going to be blessed. Rebecca is trying to make sure Jacob gets blessed. Isaac is about to bless Esau. She's trying to stop him from doing the opposite of what God said was going to happen. You see what I mean? So he's already told her what he wants to do. God has already told her. The husband has a different plan.
Oh, I see.
But it's the husband's place to give the blessing. It's not her place to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So now she's caught in a quandary. She knows what God wants to do. How does she handle the fact that it's not her job to do it and the husband is not in agreement with her? You see what I mean? And every wife has been in that position.
Right.
Where God has made it real clear what he wants to do, but the husband's like, no, ain't no way we doing that. You know, and you're like, Lord, no, what am I supposed to do with that? I want to be like Sapphira and
so she
agree
didn't
with him.
tell her husband what God said?
That's what we don't know. The scripture does not tell us whether or not she communicated with her husband. We don't know if she did. Now, if she did, then the husband's just in disobedience. We don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But even if she did, there's certain, like over the years, I've prayed so many times about that. Because I've been in that situation many times. How do I handle that when we're not in agreement, but I know what you want to do? You know, he said fast. He said pray. He said write down what I said prophetically. I mean, God has given lots of strategies as to how to handle it. But manipulation and trickery, not one of his strategies. You see what I mean? So what I'm saying here, we're gonna see that it's still gonna work out. You see what I mean? Like, I'm not even telling you this is the wrong way because it's not gonna work out. Like you said, no man can stop God's plan. God is planning to bless Jacob. He's gonna bless Jacob. Like, it's gonna happen. But what happens when we don't have the faith to let God use us the way he wants to, is that things get sticky. They get more challenging than they necessarily would have been if we would have just sought God for how do you want me to do this again? You know what I'm saying? Because there was a how that he would have given. You gave a great suggestion as to how she could have done it. I mean, there's a couple of ways that she could have handled that, but this way clearly is not the right way. We're going to see the discord that it causes in the family. Does that make sense?
Yeah. No, it's just it's because I'm it's like as you're talking, it's like I could see my house.
Mm-hmm.
I could see a whole lot of things, even in the sense of where it's where in every house God has placed, you know, that scripture where God says he set the solitude in families, he
Yes.
says he's picked out one. So in every house he set one in that house.
Mm-hmm.
But we never know which is that one.
Right. We don't know.
Because he don't say, well, okay, I pick this one. And then you go with it. And
right.
So he clearly stated to her that Jacob was going to be the one
right.
that was the blessing in the house.
Right.
And so what she did is she kind of like polluted him.
Because now she's involved him in
Yeah.
trickery.
Yeah.
Which, again, on Jacob's behalf, I want to say he did protest, but he's obeying his mother. In the end, he's obeying her. But she's like, look, I will handle it if there's any fallout. And she actually kind of does. There is going to be fallout, and she's going to handle it. But it still wasn't, she didn't put him in a bad position. She put him in a bad position. She puts the husband in a bad position. Esau's in a bad position. You know what I mean?
She clearly went against the commandment where God says to obey your parents, because now he's respecting one parent, but he's disrespecting the other.
No, exactly. So she's put him in a position where either way he's doing something wrong.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like no matter what he chose, he was going to be wrong because she just gave him a command that was opposite to his father's command. Exactly. Now we get here to we're at verse 5. She said, go into the flock, bring it to me, and I'm going to handle all of it. And that was down to verse 13. Verse 14, Jacob is doing what she told him to do. This is Genesis chapter 27, verse 14. So he went, got them, and brought them to his mother, and his mother prepared them in the tasty way his father loved. Now, again, remember I told you, getting a tasty meal is not the prerequisite for the blessing. But because he made that the prerequisite, what happens? Somebody else just makes the meal. If that's what you say, hey, if you want to be blessed, just bring me $500. Anybody can bring you $500. Now anybody's going to get blessed. Just bring me a tasty meal. You can get blessed. Anybody can bring you a tasty meal. You see what I mean? So now he has opened himself up because he set the criteria at the tasty meal. Does that make sense?
And because God is such, because of who God is, when he says that his words will never come back void, that means when you speak those blessings, even though it was not intended for that person, God, because of the mercy and the sovereignty of God, he would do for that other person. You the one that's going to be in trouble.
Right, because you didn't do what he said to do, but he will bless them. He will keep them because he will honor that word going forward, especially when you're in that authority, when you're in that place of authority. So now here we go. He went and he brings it down. Verse 15. Next, Rebecca took Esau, her older son's best clothes, which she had with her in the house, and put them on Yaakov, her younger son, or Jacob. And she put the skins of the goats on his hands and on the smooth parts of his neck. Then she gave the tasty food and the bread she had prepared to her son Yaakov, or Jacob. He went to his father and said, "My father." He replied, "Here I am. Who are you, my son?" Yaakov said to his father, "I am Esau, your firstborn. I've done what you asked me to do. Get up now, sit down, eat the game, and then give me your blessing." So I've fulfilled the requirement. I got the food, now bless me. Yitzhak, or Isaac, said to his son, "How did you find it so quickly, my son?" Now he got to figure out lies now because his mother didn't put him in this position. He answered, "Adonai, your God, made it happen that way." Now he said, "Oh, God made this happen," but really, mama just cooked it. That's what happened. Mama cooked it. But that's the only thing he come up with to get his father to stop asking him questions. Because a lot of times you mention God, people leave you alone. You see what I mean? So he's like, "Okay, I don't want you to ask me anything else. So I'm going to say it with God." Yitzhak said to Yaakov, or Isaac said to Jacob, "Come here close to me so I can touch you, my son, and know whether you are in fact my son Esau or not." Yaakov approached Yitzhak, his father, who touched him and said, "The voice is Yaakov's voice, but the hands are Esau's hands." However, he didn't detect him because his hands were hairy like his brother Esau's hands, so he gave him his blessing. He asked, "Are you really my son Esau?" And he said, "I am." He said, "Bring it here to me, and I will eat my son's game, so that I will give you my blessing." Now again, it's all about this meal. That's still prerequisite. You got to eat the food first. So he brought it to him, and he ate. He also brought him wine, and he drank. Then his father Yitzhak said to him, "Come close now and kiss me, my son." He approached and kissed him. Yitzhak smelled his clothes and blessed Yaakov with these words, "See, my son smells like the field which Adonai has blessed. So may God give you dew from heaven, the richness of the earth, and grain and wine in abundance. May people serve you and nations bow down to you. May you be Lord over your kinsmen. Let your mother's descendants bow down to you. Cursed be everyone who curses you, and blessed be everyone who blesses you." But as soon as Yitzhak had finished giving his blessing to Yaakov, or Jacob, when Yaakov had barely left his father's presence, Esau, his brother, came in from his hunting. He too had prepared a tasty meal and brought it to his father. And now he said to his father, let my father get up and eat from his son's game so that you may give me your blessing. Yitzhak, his father, said to him, who are you? And he answered, I'm your son, your firstborn Esau. Yitzhak began trembling uncontrollably and said, then who was it that took game and brought it to me? I ate it all just before you came, and I gave my blessing to him. That's the truth, and the blessing must stand. And in other versions, it says, and indeed he will be blessed. Because he felt the anointing of God come out from him when he blessed that boy. He knows this is God, it's done. Like nobody can reverse this thing. That boy is blessed.
Because even when you think of it, because even when he said that his mother's descendants was going to bow down to him, and look where he's going to flee,
right?
And what's going to happen?
Exactly. So it's clearly God was speaking through him. You see what I mean? Clearly. So now he's going to be blessed. Now watch this. This is so interesting. When Esau heard his father's words, he burst into loud, bitter sobbing. Father, bless me too, he begged. He replied, your brother came deceitfully and took away your blessing. Esau said his name Yaakov, which means he supplants or he deceives. It really suits him because he has supplanted me these 2 times. He took away my birthright, and here now he has taken away my blessing. Then he asked, haven't you saved a blessing for me? Yitzhak answered Esau, look, I have made him your Lord. I have given him all his kinsmen and servants. I have given him grain and wine to sustain him. What else is there I can do for you, my son? Esau said to his father, have you only one blessing, my father? Father, bless me too. Esau wept aloud, and Yitzhak, his father, answered him, here, your home will be of the richness of the earth and of the dew of heaven from above. You will live by your sword, and you will serve your brother. But when you break loose, you will shake his yoke off your neck. Now, in other versions, it says that his home will be away from the riches of the earth. And what he's saying is, I can't say over you the same thing I said over you, because I gave him all the stuff. So there's no stuff to give you left because I gave it all to your brother. And then I made him rule over you. So now what I'm saying is that it's going to be hard for you. Your brother's going to rule over you. When you get tired of him ruling over you, you're going to rebel against him. And we're going to see later on the Edomites are going to rebel against the children of Israel. And so what he spoke over his son was really discord, that they would have discord and enmity. He could have spoken a blessing of unity. He could have spoken a blessing of Esau living and receiving bountifully from his brother Jacob, since Jacob got all the stuff. He could have spoken to Jacob a blessing. It's important to note here that Isaac is in authority, but in this time, remember I said the Holy Spirit hasn't been released to everyone. So he's operating off of what he knows. And remember his story. There was an oldest son, Ishmael. When Isaac came, they sent Ishmael away because Isaac was the blessed son. So now, in his mind, that's how it works.
And you only have one blessing.
Only one son can get blessed, and the other one got to go away. You see what I mean? He has to be sent away because the blessing can only go to one, and only one person can be sustained by it. When there is such a thing as families living in cooperation, in community together. You see what I mean? He could have prayed that over his son Esau, who's going to be the leader of the Edomites, who's also called Edom. But he, in his mind, couldn't even conceive of that. Brothers have to separate. Brothers have to have separate nations and kingdoms when he didn't have to pray that way.
You know that is so, that thing, and that's before Yeshua came.
Right.
And still today, a lot of people believe that God says that, like once you become adult, for siblings to be close, for siblings to walk together, it just is not so.
Right.
And something is wrong with that.
It's really the human mind, the way we think, because we don't have God's heart. He says he commands us to love one another. He says no man has a greater love than he laid on his life for his friends. He says, a brother's born for adversity, but a friend loves greater than a brother. So we get an understanding that God can put a love in our hearts, that we can live in cooperation, we can live in community. But in our limited human mindset, the fact that we covet resources, That is going to be our biggest problem, that coveting of the resources. We don't believe, all of us, that there's enough for all of us. So you have to go away. I have to get the house that mama left, and I got to get all mama's stuff, and I got to fight you over the will, and we got to go to court over it, instead of us believing that God is going to reveal it and us being able to work together cooperatively about this inheritance. People do it all the time, taking their siblings to court. I mean, they won't speak to each other. I mean, horrible stuff happens over this very thing right here.
I know, because that's in my family right today. That's when I'm in my family right today. But you know, it makes you think, and it's like, oh my God. I just was speaking to my husband, and I said, you know, it's not like the world consists of just a couple thousand people. Billions of people on the earth. I said, and just think, in that billion of people that's on the earth, it's not even a full bucket that's in your profession. And so therefore, in your profession, it's enough that each person should have enough that each person could live. But what happened is, you have one person wants it all.
Yes.
And it's like,
that's right.
Selfishness.
That's right.
And when Yeshua did come in the world, he said he came to separate mother from daughter from mother, son against father, brother and sister. And the concept that I got of that is that when a family as a whole don't serve the good Lord in accord, that you do have to make a choice of serving a family member, making a choice of faithfully serving the Lord and just praying for that other family member and stuff, but set apart, because it's going to go to hell than his whole body.
And that's exactly where the separation comes from, because he doesn't want, the Lord wants the unity, but he knows that if people are operating out of greed or operating out of fear of lack, then they will kill each other even over resources and things like that. So he will have to remove his people out. That's exactly right, the way you described it. He will have to pull his people, make them set apart, so that they're protected from the greed and selfishness and fear. Because people do a lot of things out of fear. You know what I mean? Of the others that are right there in their family. Not so much that God wants the disunity, but he's got to protect his people. We're going to see this is about to happen with Jacob. That he's going to pull him out because he needs to protect him now. Because of the family dysfunction. Because there's lots of family dysfunction. And note this, Esau actually had the right idea. He said, Father, do you only have one blessing? Can't you just bless me too? And it would have been solved. He could have just, oh yeah, let me bless you too.
Yeah, that's because he didn't see God.
He didn't seek God
about
blessing his children. He didn't have a mindset or concept of blessing more than one child, because of what he saw with him and his older brother. And even the later sons that came from the concubine, you see what I mean? They had to be sent away too. So he doesn't have a concept of a family coming together and all the children being blessed. But when you raise your children up that way from the beginning, see, they had favorites. It was clear whose Isaac's favorite was. It was clear who Rebecca's favorite was. Their household was divided the whole time. This is just a manifestation of the division. But they've been divided since the babies were born. Now you see what this division comes to. But if they had blessed the children equally, and they're twins. They're almost exactly the same age. They're like a few seconds apart in birth. It's not like these guys are 10 years apart. But they're the same age, same birthday, same everything. You could have gave them the same presents. You could have bought them the same clothes. You could have kissed them the same kisses goodnight, because they're the exact same age and the same gender. There's absolutely no reason why there had to be differential treatment between these two boys. But clearly there was. You see what I mean? There was no reason that had to happen in the household. From the beginning, you got twin boys. They could have been treated like one, like a unity, like one family. Then when they got to this place, everybody would have had the right mindset.
But their husband and wife was divided.
They were divided.
They didn't think anything to divide the children.
Exactly.
That's right.
That is exactly right. And so this is, and we're looking at this, and I love the Tanakh, because it shows us how humans do stuff. Sometimes in God's will, sometimes not in God's will, because it helps us to see ourselves. And when we read the Brit Hadashah, we read the New Covenant, we're going to see how Yeshua paid for all this to be fixed. Because he knows us. He knows how we're going to mess it up. You see what I mean? But I love God, because, and I say this to people all the time, he was fixing people's messes all the way back then. But he didn't just start fixing messes. He was fixing messes all the way back in the beginning. You see what I mean? He's always been that God who recovers what we kind of, spoiled. You see what I mean? Because he's gonna fix this whole situation. So now we know he's really upset, and we're gonna see in verse 41, Esau hated his brother because of the blessing his father had given him. Now you heard that. If the father had given Esau a good blessing also, he wouldn't have had a reason to hate his father. Now he's hating him because he's feeling that he lost something. That he's at a place of loss. You see what I mean? I've lost the blessing, I've lost the favor. But if he also received blessing and favor, he wouldn't have to be hating his brother. You see what I mean? Then the next it says, Esau said to himself, the time for mourning my father will soon come, and then I will kill my brother Yaakov, or Jacob. But the words of Esau, her oldest son, were told to Rebekah. She sent for Yaakov, her younger son, and said to him, here, your brother Esau is comforting himself over you by planning to kill you. Therefore, my son, listen to me. Get up and escape to Laban, my brother in Haran. Stay with him a little while until your brother's anger subsides. Your brother's anger will turn away from you, and you will forget what you did to him. Now, she said what you did, not what we did, when it was her plan. What you did. Then I'll send and bring you back from there. Why should I lose both of you on the same day? And the both she's talking about is her husband and her son. Because he's saying, when my father dies, I'm going to kill Jacob. I don't want to kill him when my father's alive because it might kill my father. So I'm going to wait till my father dies. Then I'm going to kill Jacob. And then she's saying that I will be without both my youngest son, my favorite son, and my husband on the exact same day.
I think it's terrible when parents have favorites because then if there's three kids, then the father likes one, the mother likes one, and this other one is just feel left out.
That's right.
And that's why they turn to rage, and that's why some people be going up to be assault killers because they never felt that kind of love.
That's right. And see, and that's not what God intended.
That's right.
God intended for every parent to love every last one of their children.
That's right.
If they have more than one. And they're supposed to treat them, raise them the same, and they're supposed to treat them the same.
That's right. That's exactly right. Because he's the perfect parent, and he does that to us. And that's what we miss. A lot of times we think God, he loves them more than me, loves me, them more than me. That's why we got to read from the Brit Hadashah. Because Yeshua died for everybody. Which makes it very clear that the Lord wants to bless us all. Not just one. Not just the Jews, not just the Gentiles, not just the Europeans, not just the Africans. He wants to bless everybody because he died for everybody.
Everyone.
It's up to us to come and get that blessing. You see what I mean? And so that becomes very important that we don't feel orphaned. We don't feel like the less favored child. We receive the blessing. So now verse 46. Rivkah said to Yitzhak, I'm sick to death of Hittite women. If Yaakov marries one of these Hittite women, like those who live here, my life won't be worth living. Now this is how she's fixing the situation. She's back in manipulation. Now what she said is true. Because he hated him too. Isaac hated him too. Esau had married two of the Hittite women. These are going to be the pagan women. Okay? So he got two wives, right? Now Jacob at this point, they're both 40 years old. Jacob doesn't have one wife yet. But Esau got two. Remember, he's man's man. So he got two ladies. You see what I'm saying? But he's got these pagan women who all up in Rivka's house and in her kitchen with their pagan ways.
Plus, she didn't want them no way.
She didn't want, exactly. So she's really annoyed, but even Isaac was annoyed because he doesn't like their pagan ways. They're still in their idolatry. They're still going to the idolatrous festivals. And probably Esau's going with them. So they hate that. Both of them hate it, even though he still loved that Esau was this man's man. He doesn't like these women and he's mad. And so she knows that. This is a place where her and Isaac agree. We hate these wives. So now she's like, let me tap into something he doesn't like about Esau and tell him how we're going to solve this is by sending Jacob to go get a wife from my family, because that's how Isaac got his wife, was that Abraham sent the servant back to his family, which is where, Rebecca came from.
Somebody type and said they made God small in their eyes. To them, he was limited, not big enough for both.
For both children, to bless both children, exactly. And we oftentimes do that, especially when we're jealous of other people. God blesses somebody else, and we go. When God is no respecter of person, if He will bless them, He can bless us too. As long as we don't covet their blessing, we just pray for our own personal blessing.
Right.
You see what I mean? So that's exactly right. Like God was limited, like God was small, and He's not small. Now, remember in chapter 28, we're going to read 4 verses. It says, so Yitzhak called Yaakov, and after blessing him, watch this. After blessing him, charged him, saying, "You are not to choose a wife from the Hittite women. Go now to the home of Bethuel, your mother's father, and choose a wife there from the daughters of Laban, your mother's brother. May El Shaddai bless you, make you fruitful, and increase your descendants until they become a whole assembly of peoples. And may he give you the blessing which he gave Abraham, you and your descendants with you, so that you will possess the land you will travel through, the land God gave Abraham." Now look at that. Now he just gave him the blessing.
He come up with another blessing again.
But look at what happened. He gave it to Jacob, and nobody had to trick him. No goat hair, no tasty meal. Why did he give it to Jacob? Because he's about to go find a wife. Now, if she would have just sought God, God might have told her, "Look, tell Jacob to go get a wife. Isaac's going to have to bless him when he goes to get the wife. And once he goes to bless him, I'm going to speak out of his mouth." You see what I mean? Without any manipulation, he's really about to go get a wife, which is exactly what he should do. He's doing it the right way. He's not supposed to marry those Canaanite women, which he hasn't done. And this is one of the reasons why God loved him. He didn't want the pagan stuff. He wanted to serve God. Like he wanted what his parents had taught him. He goes the right way. He's going to get a wife. He's waited all this time. He's 40 years old. Hasn't got a wife yet. Esau's got two. And now we see the distinction between these two men is the fact that one chooses a way that lines up with what God has spoken through his family, and the one chooses pretty much the world's way. You see what I mean? And the father himself even sees that distinction, so he winds up giving him the blessing for free. You see what I mean? Something they worked real hard for a minute ago is now free.
But the dysfunctionalness that went on in the family that goes on even right today in a lot of families is being disobedient to the good Lord, as well as lack of communication within the family.
Right.
So, because communicating with one another, the saying, a family that prays together stays together, along with the prayer, that opens the door for constant communication.
That's right.
And so, and when you don't communicate well, and especially when you don't serve God together, and so you're going to have a whole lot of discord. You're going to have a whole lot of curses, or generational curses. You're going to have a lot of doors open for Satan to play with family members, divide them, and that goes on right today. But that's the key. The key that the family need to all have the same faith in the good Lord, and they need to love and communicate one another. Not let jealousy or selfishness enter in, and if it does, talk about it so that you can bring it out. But some things go so far as to where, just like Yeshua said, you just plain have to be set apart from them.
That's right.
You can love them and you can pray for them and stuff, but if they're not going God's way and stuff or whatever, you can't let them pull you down to hell too.
That's true. Now let's look at Psalm 11. It's actually very short. It's only 7 verses. But David is in a similar situation as Jacob. Somebody wants to kill him. But David takes a different approach. Jacob's going to leave and go off to Laban, and we're going to see to Haran where Laban lives. And we're going to see that God blesses him there. But God has given David different instructions. And it says, for the leader by David, "In Adonai I find refuge. So how can you say to me, flee like a bird to the mountains? See how the wicked are drawing their bows and setting their arrows in the string to shoot from the shadows at honest men? If the foundations are destroyed, what can the righteous do? Adonai, the Lord, is in his holy temple. Adonai, his throne is in heaven. His eyes see and test humankind. Adonai tests the righteous, but he hates the wicked and the lover of violence. He will rain hot coals down on the wicked. Fire, sulfur, and scorching wind will be what they get to drink. For Adonai is righteous. He loves righteousness. The upright will see his face." Now remember, David is now going to be the man after God's own heart. The Messiah is going to be born through. So we're going to see a lot of messianic characteristics in David. Even though he's very Old Testament, he is also going to be very New Testament, being the precursor to Messiah, that ancestor of Messiah, the one through whom the promised line comes. So we see here that he's like, you know what? People are trying to kill me. I'm not fleeing. I'm going to stay put in God. And that's usually what God will tell us to do. Take your stand. Now, there are times for like physical safety that God will say, I want you to vacate an area, leave quickly. But when it comes to the challenges of life or spiritual warfare, there's nowhere you can go anyway. Instead, the Lord needs us to find a refuge in Him. Because we see next week, we're going to continue to read in Genesis. We see Genesis chapter 28. Jacob flees, but while he's fleeing, he's going to meet God. You see, that's why he's going to encounter God. So the whole point is that I am with you, and I need you to know that I am with you. So that when people try to hurt you and you're feeling cursed rather than blessed, know that what I've said about you is going to stand. What I want to do in your life is not going to change. I'm on the throne. I'm in heaven, and it's my word that counts. And David depended on that. Jacob didn't know it yet. You see what I'm saying? It's when he gets in that desert, he's going to start to get to know God. Because he doesn't know him yet, but David does. This is Psalm 11. David knows him. And so he's able to take his stand against wicked people. And of course, he fled from Saul a little bit, but when God said, take your stand, he took his stand. You see what I mean? And when God said, pray, he prayed. When God said, seek me, he sought him. You know, David continually sought God for the instructions. And that's the very thing that we're talking about. Because that's what we didn't see in Genesis 27. People seeking God for the instructions. What happens is they're not seeking him for the instructions, and what he has to do is make his will come to pass anyway. Does that make sense? He has to use what they did to make it happen. As to what David here is steadfast and firm, immovable in God, and he is seeking him for the instructions.
And, you know, it's like I was just writing because it's like there's so much so parallel to where I am now.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, Monday when I was praying, it was like God was saying, remember you're under open heaven.
Mm-hmm.
But as even though he was saying that, I was like, there's no way I could be under open heaven like this.
Because you don't feel blessed, you feel like something else is going on.
Yeah, and you know, but as I'm writing, even as you're talking, it's like he's saying, stop and listen, and then you'll hear exactly what's your next step.
That's right. Because a lot of times we expect the blessing to look like something that, you know, is pleasant, is prosperous. It doesn't mean God won't bring prosperity. Jacob's going to get some prosperity, but he's got to go through the wrong wife, being tricked by his uncle, running from his brother, you know, all of that before he even starts to get blessed. Then he got to leave his uncle because uncle keeps trying to rob him. I mean, you understand? But he's terribly blessed. You see, he's blessed. But the blessings are coming, but the enemy is still assailing him. Like, that's what David is talking about. And the beautiful thing about David, that I love about David, is that he never forgot that God was blessing him even when the wicked were trying to kill him. You understand? I mean, he didn't go, oh, I'm not blessed. He knew he was blessed, even though the wicked were trying to kill him.
Because even when you think on how he hid he was in the cave, and Saul came to that cave also, but yet still Saul couldn't touch him. And so it's almost like, oh my God, it's like the war rages around you.
Right.
It's only if what you do will make it say if it touches you.
That's right. And those who accept the blessing, because we don't believe like Isaac believed. We know there's a blessing for each one of us. God did not run out of blessings, and he don't have favorite kids. So that means then that there's a blessing for me. He's released it to me. What I got to do is stand and walk in that blessing, because that blessing is covering me. It's not about I got to be in this city or this physical position or this spiritual position. It's about me and my relationship with him. That's solely what it's about. So while all this is happening, I'm still remaining blessed because I'm in that refuge with God.
Remember when I told you I was reading a book called Supernatural Favor?
Yes.
And the guy said it's a position, it's not a thing or anything like that. And that position is if you in that position with God, how you standing in that position with God. And it's like that's where the favor comes. And so it's like, oh my God, it's like you're looking out this way. But God is saying, just stay right here, just stay right here. I'm just looking.
Exactly. And that's how we walk in that blessing. And this is John chapter 19, and the last chapter we read. And I pray that this blesses you, because when we look at what happens with Yeshua, it's not going to look like he's blessed. This is his crucifixion and burial. But what this really is the price for our blessing. This is the sacrifice for the blessing. We saw all these other people trying what they could try to get that blessing. That's not how it comes. The blessing comes from the sacrifice God himself made through his own son. You see what I mean? That is where that blessing comes, is through this sacrifice. And even though Jacob didn't know it yet, he was an ancestor. So God has already set him up. It's like he got the blessing of Messiah, but Messiah hadn't come in the earth through Jacob. He still got that blessing. Abraham got that blessing. You see what I mean? And we never know what God is doing in our lives, but we do know that Yeshua already paid for us to have a blessing. And that blessing is a relationship with God. That blessing is a refuge in God. No matter what is happening, that is the blessing. And we're going to read about the fact we need to read about that sacrifice so that we will never forget that is the blessing. That's where our blessing comes from. It's from this sacrifice. Not me having a tasty meal. Not me being the favorite son or daughter. Not somebody coming up with a good scheme to work it out. Not me running away from the enemy. If I just get away from the enemy, you're not going to get away from the enemy. He left Esau and ran right into the bomb. You know what I'm saying? You're not going to get away from the enemy. It's about where I am with God because I have received this sacrifice for my blessing. Does that make sense? John 19. Pilate then took Yeshua and had him flogged. We're going to hear just the details of this price Yeshua paid, that actual sacrifice for our blessing. The soldiers twisted thorn branches into a crown and placed it on his head, put a purple robe on him, and went up to him, saying over and over, "Hail, King of the Jews," and hitting him in the face. Pilate went outside once more and said to the crowd, "Look, I'm bringing him out to you to get you to understand that I find no case against him." So Yeshua came out wearing the thorn branch crown and the purple robe. Pilate said to them, "Look at the man." When the head Kohanim and the temple guards saw him, they shouted, "Put him to death on the stake! Put him to death on the stake!" Now, Pilate is thinking, okay, they're going to see this man's been flogged. He's got this crown of thorns on. They're going to see, maybe he's going through enough. Their thirst for blood is going to be quenched. But it wasn't. Because he's not seeking God's strategy either. His wife gave him God's strategy. Y'all remember his wife had a dream? What did she say? "I have suffered much in the dream concerning this man, so I have nothing to do with him." That's what she said. That was the instruction from God. God gave him the instruction through his wife. You listen. Now he's trying to figure out how to get out of this. When the wife said, "Don't have anything to do with it." She told him what to do. He didn't listen to that. So now he realizes, man, I've done all this to this man. They still want him to die. I didn't solve anything. I just tortured him for no reason. But we know that reason was important. That every strike, every piercing, everything that happened to his flesh was all paying that cost. Isaiah 53 was all paying that cost that we might be blessed, that we be healed. Our souls will be healed. Our physical bodies will be healed. Our minds will be transformed. Everything he received, the crown of thorns, all of it was so that we can have full blessing, not part blessing. You know, like Esau, bless me too. We don't want to have to go away from the land. We don't want to have to be somebody's servant. That we have the fullness of the blessing for us. He went through all of this. So now, let's keep going and look at what they said. The Pilate will respond, "You take him out yourselves and put him to death on the stake because I can't find any case against him." The Judeans answered him, "We have a law. According to that law, he ought to be put to death because he made himself out to be the Son of God." On hearing this, Pilate became even more frightened. Why? Because his wife had already told him, "Don't have anything to do with that righteous man because she has suffered much in a dream concerning him." He knows dreams only come from heaven. You see this? So he's recognizing there is something supernatural happening here. And I am right in the middle of it and caught. But he's still trying to figure out what to do. And God is giving him instructions. Verse 9. He went back to the headquarters and asked Yeshua, "Where are you from?" So I told you. He's like, something going on. This is from heaven. This is not from earth. This is something different happening here. So he's trying to get some answers because he's still trying to figure out what to do. But Yeshua didn't answer. He knows what's going on. And he knows what has to happen. And he knows that Pilate didn't listen to the instruction. So now this has to happen this way. Because what would have happened if Pilate would have refused to have anything to do with him? Herod would have had to deal with this. You see what I'm saying? And Pilate said, because it was in Herod's jurisdiction. That's why he sent him to Herod. Herod wouldn't have nothing to do with it. At least he was smart on that one. You see what I mean? But after he had John the Baptist killed, he tried to kill no more righteous people. And John the Baptist was still haunting him. At least that, his conscience was guilty about that. He's like, I'm not dealing with this one. You can take him back. And this is his cousin. But he could have had nothing to do with him. And Herod would have had to deal with him. You see what I mean? And his hands really would have been clean, which is what he wanted, was for his hands to be clean. But Yeshua is not giving him an out now because he didn't take the instructions. So Pilate said to him, you refuse to speak to me? Don't you understand that it's in my power either to set you free or to have you executed on the stake? And this is where he doesn't understand. What did we already establish? The blessing is from God and no man can take it away. Amen. There was nothing Pilate could do or not do that God had not allowed.
You see what I'm saying? He can't even kill you.
The enemy cannot kill you. No, he cannot. He cannot kill you. And that's why people have to understand why he comes with depression, suicide, stuff like that. Because he can't kill you. You see what I mean? God has the power of life and death, and he's given us choice. So all the enemy can do is give us suggestions. But he can't do it. He sure can. And that's important that we know that. So Yeshua finally answered, you would have no power over me if it hadn't been given to you from above. This is why the one who handed me over to you is guilty of a greater sin. Now he's mentioning above. Let me ask him where you're from. Now Pilate's getting some understanding here. Okay, some stuff is going on, but I don't understand. On hearing this, Pilate tried to find a way to set him free. But the Judeans shouted, if you set this man free, it means you're not a friend of the emperor. Everyone who claims to be a king is opposing the emperor. Now again, he's still trying to figure it out. Instead of just getting the instructions, God already gave the instructions and doing what he told him to do. When Pilate heard what they were saying, he brought Yeshua outside and sat down in the judge's seat in the place called the pavement, in Aramaic, Gabbatha. It was about noon on preparation day for Pesach, or Passover. He said to the Judeans, here's your king. They shouted, take him away, put him to death on the stake. Pilate said to them, you want me to execute your king on the stake? The head Kohanim answered, we have no king but the emperor. Then Pilate handed Yeshua over to them to have him put to death on the stake. So they took charge of Yeshua, carrying the stake himself. He went out to the place called Skull, in Aramaic Golgotha. There they nailed him to the stake along with two others, one on either side with Yeshua in the middle. Pilate also had a notice written and posted on the stake. It read, Yeshua from Nazareth, the King of the Jews. Many of the Judeans read this notice because the place where Yeshua was put on the stake was close to the city, and it had been written in Hebrew, in Latin, and in Greek. The Judeans' head Kohanim therefore said to Pilate, don't write the King of the Jews, but he said, I am King of the Jews. What I have written, I have written. When the soldiers had nailed Yeshua to the stake, they took his clothes and divided them into 4 shares, a share for each soldier, with the underrobe left over. Now the underrobe was seamless, woven in one piece from top to bottom. So they said to one another, we shouldn't tear it in pieces. Let's draw for it. This happened in order to fulfill the words from the Tanakh. They divided my clothes among themselves and gambled for my robe. This is in Psalm 22:19. And it's 19 in complete Jewish, it's 18 in other versions. And it's important to read Psalm 22 because it's going to describe the crucifixion to a T. Like, it's crazy how David describes his crucifixion when he's actually just talking about his own suffering. But he's completely describing the crucifixion in Psalm 22. Then continue on, it says, this is why the soldiers did these things, because they're fulfilling the scripture. Nearby Yeshua's execution stake stood his mother's sister Miriam, the wife of Clopa, and Miriam from Magdala. So it's 3 Miriams there. When Yeshua saw his mother and the Talmud, or the disciple whom he loved, standing there, he said to his mother, Mother, this is your son. Then he said to the Talmud, this is your mother. And from that time on, the Talmud took her into his home. After this, knowing that all things had accomplished their purpose, Yeshua, in order to fulfill the words of the Tanakh, said, I'm thirsty. A jar full of cheap sour wine was there. So they soaked a sponge in the wine, coated it with oregano leaves, and held it up to his mouth. After Yeshua had taken the wine, he said, it is accomplished. And letting his head droop, he delivered up his spirit. It was preparation day, and the Judeans did not want the bodies to remain on the stake on Shabbat, since it was an especially important Shabbat, because they're preparing for the Passover. So they asked Pilate to have the legs broken and the bodies removed. The soldiers came and broke the legs of the first man who had been on the stake beside Yeshua, and the legs of the other one. But when they got to Yeshua and saw that he was already dead, they didn't break his legs. Now they broke the legs because a lot of times when the people on the cross, they're supposed to die of asphyxiation, meaning that they pretty much eventually they can't breathe anymore because they're hanging that way, and their lungs stop giving them air because they kind of close up when they're asphyxiated like this. But if they still have their legs they can use, they're gonna push up to try to keep alive. Does that make sense? So breaking their legs was to make them fall down so that they would die quickly. That was supposed to happen. Let's break their legs so they'll go ahead and die. When they could have just killed them, but they want them to just die in a gross way. Does that make sense? Very torturous way. But Yeshua's already dead because he's lost so much blood and he's been tortured so much that he's already dead. Plus it was God's will. However, one of the soldiers stabbed his side with a spear, and at once blood and water flowed out. And of course, he's checking to see if he really did. And of course, he was. The man who saw it has testified about it, and his testimony is true. And he knows that he tells the truth, so you too can trust. But these things happen in order to fulfill the passage of the Tanakh. Not one of his bones will be broken. And that's going to be out of Psalm 34:21. And again, another passage says, they will look at him whom they have pierced. And that's Zechariah 12:10. And this is the piercing that people are going to see when Yeshua cracks the sky in Zechariah 12. They're going to look to him whom they pierced, and this is that piercing on the side. Because you remember, after he comes back, Thomas gets to see that same piercing. So we know that Yeshua's his transformed body still has the piercing in it. Still has the holes in his hands, still has the hole in his feet, and has the piercing in his side. Does that make sense? 38. Yes, ma'am. That was for the proof. That keeps his identity. So you know this is the same one that was on the cross. You see what I mean? So you don't think, well, this is a different Messiah. No, it's the same Messiah. And that's very important that the identity is firmed up. Because people are going to want to believe it's a different guy. He will still have it. He's still going to have it. But that's why Zechariah 12 says they will look to him whom they pierced. If you read Zechariah 12, it's not talking about this time. He's cracking the sky in Zechariah 12. And if he wasn't pierced, they would know he was Yeshua. Because it's in the sky, everybody's going to know he's Mashiach. They're going to know he's the Messiah. But people could say, oh, he's the 12th Imam, which is what the Muslims are looking for. Or they can say, oh, he's Buddha returned, which, you know, Buddhists are looking for. They can say, oh, he's this prophesied child that was coming. I mean, everybody got these stories about who's supposed to come and save them. Without the piercing, he's not identifiable as Yeshua. You see what I'm saying? So he keeps those piercings. And his whole rest of his body is healed, which means the piercings didn't have to stay. He could have been healed of those. He kept them so that people would know it was him when he comes back. Does that make sense? Like that was chosen. Because he got those and he got the rips in his flesh. All that stuff healed. You see what I mean? He only kept the piercings in his hands, his feet, and his side. It is mercy. And because he didn't have to keep that. He kept that for us. Exactly. But it's interesting that though we would see that as a deformity, a defilement, an ailment, he keeps it as a memorial and like his wedding ring or his locket, or you understand, this is what I did for you. Does that make sense? And it's like, I want you to know that I love you this much. And remember when he came to Thomas, he was like, go ahead, put your hand in the hole and put your hand in my side. Go ahead, it's still there. He'd already gone to the Father there, so he's completely got the transformed body at that point. That's the same body he's coming back with the one that Thomas saw. You see what I mean? And that is, it's essential for the Jews to see that he's that guy. It's essential for the Christians to see that he's that guy. It's essential for Messianics to see that he's that guy. And it's going to be essential for the whole rest of the world who said he was just a good prophet. A kind man. No, he's the son of God. You see what I mean? Everybody's going to need to know he's that guy. And it's going to be so important that identity is from. And that's why it's prophesied. Because God is like, he told it before it happened. He's telling you it's going to happen. So when it does happen, those of us who know scriptures, we go, oh, there it is. That's him. You don't got no piercings, you're not him. You let me say, you're going to see this one, you see that one, it ain't going to be me. You ain't got no piercings. You see what I mean? You got piercing inside, you got piercing in your hand, you didn't die, come back to life. You're not him. You see what I mean? Lots of false inside you. You're not him. You know? But he's going to identify himself. And that's a good point. Verse 38. After this, Joseph of Arimathea, who was a Talmud of Yeshua, a disciple, but a secret one out of fear of the Judeans, because he's a part of the actual the Sanhedrin, asked Pilate if he could have Yeshua's body. Pilate gave his consent, so Joseph came and took the body away. Also, Nicodemus is actually Nochdemon in Hebrew, is Nicodemus in Greek. Us showed it in Greek, but Nochdemon in Hebrew, who at first had gone to see Yeshua by night, came with some 70 pounds of spices, a mixture of myrrh and aloes. They took Yeshua's body and wrapped it up in linen sheets with the spices, in keeping with the Judean burial practices. In the vicinity of where he had been executed was a garden, and in the garden was a new tomb in which no one had ever been buried. So because it was preparation day, and we know from other versions that that was Joseph's tomb, because it was preparation day for the Judeans, and because the tomb was close by, that is where they buried Yeshua. And so they were able to get him there quickly before the sun went down, and so he's buried before the sun goes down, before Shabbat starts. So Nicodemus is carrying 70 pounds of spices, and he leaves them there, so now he's not carrying nothing back away from Shabbat. And Joseph is carrying him there, his body there, and he leaves him there, and he's not carrying anything back away from Shabbat, and now they're ready for to keep the Shabbat and keep the Passover. Remember, the importance of all of this, what's important about all this is to recognize that the blessing came at a very high cost, at a sacrifice, but not through manipulation or the understandings of men. The blessing doesn't come that way. We can't even figure out how to get God the blessings. And a lot of times, even through religion, we'll do that. Well, if I pray real hard, if I fast real hard, then you're going to bless me. That's still manipulation. It's still me trying to figure it out. Oh yeah, I got all these religious practices. That's going to get me the blessing. And what we see here, very honestly, yeah. The prayer, they're prayer beads. They do that while they're praying. I don't know. What becomes important for us to note is that the Lord Himself paid for that blessing. And that's why we get the blessing. Not because we figured it out, not because we're smart enough, not because we're strong enough, not because we're big enough, good enough, or holy enough, but because we received what He paid for. And here's the hardest part: believing that it's for me and that He did it. That's the whole message of salvation. I believe that He did it, and I believe He did it specifically for me. And when I believe that, that's when I'm going to be with Him. Not because I was all perfect, because we're going to see all types of people messing up. It does not mean that that's a license to sin. We don't take our salvation and use it as a license to sin. No, it means. It means that the righteous is saved by faith. I believe Him. And through that relationship of faith, He starts ministering to me. He changes me. He walks with me. I keep letting Him in. Whether I'm doing what I think is right, whether I'm doing what I think is wrong, I still let Him in. And I'm talking to Him. I'm hearing from Him. And I'm praying to Him. And I'm asking Him for refuge, change, prosperity, direction, strategy. I'm asking for everything. And He's giving it to me because He already paid the price for it. He loves me that much. That is the sacrifice for the blessing. And that is how we get our Father to bless us. All I have to do is call to His remembrance what He already did. God, I know You would want to bless me. You paid for the blessing. Help me to receive it. Let me see it in my life. Let me see the manifestations of it. We read the scripture back to Him. You said that this would be my inheritance. You said that I would be blessed and highly favored. You said, and I read that back to Him because really it's building faith in me. And it helps me to keep my eyes open for the fact that it's already been released. And I can see what He's done in my life, that I can receive it for myself. Most of the time, it's not so much that God didn't bless us, He didn't release the blessing, it's that we don't see what He's done as a blessing. We're too busy looking at what the enemy's doing.
Amen. That's it.
You know, oh, the enemy's hurting me, he's attacking me, the enemy's doing that.
And not keeping faith that He is in the midst of it all. That's right.
That's exactly right. We get distracted. And so I bless God for this lesson. I hope it bless you. I'm looking forward to next week. We get to see Jacob. We get to see Jacob and his encounter with the Lord. We get to see the Lord rising up. So I'm just excited. Just the glory of God is going to be manifested in the scriptures next week. We're going to see Jacob seeing God. We're going to see Yeshua, appearing to the women, and I'm just excited because really, not only do we want to receive the blessing that comes from His death, burial, and crucifixion, we want the blessing of the relationship that came out of the resurrection also. We want to receive from that resurrection, and we too want to be resurrected. In our mortal bodies and our souls, we want to be resurrected. We don't want to walk around dead. We want to be alive. And He provided for us to live life and life more abundantly, not just in the eternal, but right now in the earthly realm. And so I pray that for you, for myself, and for my family, because it is what He paid for us to have. Amen. I'll see you. Oh, the key scripture. Thank you. It is in Genesis 27. I almost remembered, and then I forgot. I got excited about the shoe. I really love the shoe, and I got excited.
Hallelujah.
I actually said it's in Genesis 27. It's not 28. Genesis 28 verse 4 is the key scripture. Now it's beautiful because this is the same blessing that the Lord actually gave to Abraham in Genesis 12, and it's this. This is Isaac speaking over Jacob. And may he give you the blessing which he gave Abraham, you and your descendants with you, so that you'll possess the land, you will travel through the land God gave to Abraham. And I love that. That's our key scripture because I pray that you will receive the blessing of Abraham as well as you meditate on that scripture right there. It's Genesis 28, verse 4. That is the blessing of Abraham, given to Isaac, and right here we see it being given to Jacob, and it's also given for us. Amen. See you next week.